Once I see we're live, usually we are right away. Give it a little delay. Cool. Give it a little delay. There we go. What's going on, guys? This is PnC Dynasty here. This is episode 13, my lucky number. And today it's just going to be myself and Badger with me. The other two got some things that they got going on, so this episode may be quick, but it's just going to be us going over the matchups of week 3, seeing what players did what they did, what players should have done, or what they should have done but they didn't, and I guess really hit or misses, maybe some waiver claims that you could look into, and just overall how we feel about certain players that are making finally a comeback, or who are we scared about, especially Aaron Robinson since he's not doing anything. Badger, hit us with the sponsors.
Yep, per usual. Hopefully these sites actually sponsor us sometime soon. GemlineSports.com. My 2-point play of Notre Dame plus 6.5 hit again. So pretty much top the leaderboard there, but you can go on over to GemlineSports.com. They have daily picks on there. You can get the NFL package with all the 2-point plays from the 7 cappers that are there. Or you can buy the NFL and college football newsletter for the rest of the season. Also, Vinny and I's favorite app as of now, and now the PnC Dynasty League favorite app, Better Fantasy. So the leagues are now testing Better Fantasy. You can get on there very soon as well. Go over to betterfantasy.com to get 3 times better credits, and as we say every week, it's going to be free for the complete season. You can win prizes, make bets, daily trivia. You get points, or better credits, I should say, for referring friends. If you're on Sleeper and you are not on Better Fantasy, you need to get on there.
Yes, definitely get on there. I mean, it's free. Like, there's really no reason not to be on there, right? Because it's just gonna be fun. Definitely entertaining, and it adds more competition. Definitely adds more competition, and something else to bet on and get excited for, especially in the NFL. Outside of that, what also is exciting is a lot of the news. Some things, we have A.J. Brown, who got hurt during the game, injured with his hamstring, kind of scary. Week to week, though, he's on Badger's team, and then also on Badger's team was Barkley, and he kind of got a little nicked up, but I think he came back on, so he was okay there. And I'm pretty sure, did another player of your teams also get hurt in that 5-minute
Yep,
span?
someone, I know we'll get into it in a second here, but Darius Slayton, also injured. True. So yeah. I'm hurting big time in the wide receiver category, which we'll get into tomorrow. But some
Josh Gordon, I don't know. Back to the Chiefs. Oh, true hamstrings. A lot of hamstrings, actually.
Yeah, there was. But the Josh Gordon news too. Probably not really much. I guess he's just signing on the practice squad, but good for him. I would say hopefully this time he gets it together, keeps it together. I had him last year. I picked him up for a whopping $85 on the Fab. Late season. It was late season. But I think Leo has him now. I think he got him for $10. So
yeah. And hey, we'll I don't think he can get suspended anymore for marijuana, which is a plus, because I'm pretty sure that was the only thing wrong with him. Other than that, could he still be a freak?
We were
find out, right?
I was talking about it in a group chat from home with some friends, and I guess when he was playing on the Patriots, he was on pace for 1,200 yards. But now, he didn't play last year. Hardly played 2019.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would say this is more just a feel-good story than a fantasy-relevant story.
That's true. I agree. And you know what? I hope he actually makes a start on the Chiefs or like comes in for a couple plays because they might need him, and he could be another like just threat just to put out there. Uh, I think big news is just all these hamstrings that we had this week, and we also had a couple ACLs, which are happening less often this year than last year.
Knock on wood.
If we're comparing the two. But I know a lot of hamstring injuries are just kind of uncomfortableness in that area for a lot of players, and it's a little scary. So it's an iffy area, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like hamstrings they just linger too. Like if CMC, for example, they're not putting them on the IR.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with AJ Brown, but I feel like they just will linger throughout the year. Yeah, they got like the top trainers in that, but it's definitely a worrisome for fantasy owners. I feel like.
Yeah, but really nothing crazy with the news. Maybe we'll find out more going through this week. Josh Jacobs will probably miss practice a bunch of times, and Peyton Barber would just take over that backfield.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I know. But moving on to our matchups, which we do have on the screen to the left, which is on our website, PnCDynasty.com, and you guys can check it out. We do have multiple. I think we had 150 piece. Leo, as you can see, the only team that's highlighted red is, that's the team. This is the 50 piece. He only scored a whopping 87 points. Last week, we had 77 points by the team that put up the 148. Now we got a team putting up 87, and it's kind of a little scary because scoring less than 100 points in a 1 QB PPR league shouldn't be something that we should see so frequently, and it happened twice this week.
Yeah, it did it. In Leo's team specifically, it's around his running backs. I would say David Montgomery had more yards than the Bears combined somehow.
Including himself in that, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So
which is kind of crazy.
10 carries, 34 yards, 21 yards
Yeah.
Receiving. And then Tyson Williams, who, sorry, Leo, gave up a first-round pick for, is now...
Yes.
From a snap percentage-wise, I guess he had over 50% of the snaps, and he still led the running backs. But, I mean, only 5 carries? That's against the Detroit Lions. That's a bit concerning, I would say, going forward. And he, he's going to have to play Nyheim Hines going forward over Tyson Williams, in my opinion. And you hope that David Montgomery gets. I feel bad for the guy, honestly. Him and Allen Robinson, I feel.
I think
awful for.
Allen Robinson needs to leave that team next year.
Yeah,
he needs to find a team that actually can utilize his skills because he's just going to go to waste, just like Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Allen Robinson, I think, just on that 1-year franchise tag, so maybe he'll come to the realization, or Matt Nagy will get fired, and then they'll actually utilize Justin Fields better, and the production from both these guys will go up. But I think the story here in this matchup is more so Dan's team overperforming, like I talked about on Wednesday.
Definitely overperforming.
And having Herbert just go off. Kareem Hunt
go off, and then I think the biggest story on his team is Tyler Conklin, 7 of 8 for 70 yards and a touchdown, which for in our tight end premium league, virtually 24 points, which is unreal for him. Yeah, I would say. I'm definitely. I mean, we're going over this. Should we just go over every matchup together?
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Might as well. So with Tyler, I mean. I'm not expecting 23 points. I'm not expecting his performance every single week. But could we expect maybe 5 targets for him now moving forward? Because I feel like he's been somewhat consistent moving throughout these 3 weeks. He's getting target shares, he's getting the receptions, and if he's in games where they're going to want to throw and they're going to want to put up points, which they are, he could be a solid pickup, even though he paid money, or wasn't
$8.
$8 for him, but didn't he pick up Herndon for like a second round pick or something because he thought he would be the starter?
Oh yeah, he did make a trade with Hodge.
Yeah.
Hodge picked
was it
up.
a first?
No,
Oh,
it
okay.
wasn't.
I think
It
we would have
was
roasted
first.
that. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I think it was the second or third. Let me just see.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a second.
Second, 2024 second. So I
Yeah.
mean, not awful, but to your point, I think right now Conklin tight end 9 in a PPR league. And to your point, 4 targets, at least 4 targets each week so far. I think that he's going to be more relevant in this offense.
Yeah.
Going forward. Kirk Cousins is just having an unreal year.
A great
so far. And same thing with Adam Thielen. But if you're on the train that you think Adam Thielen's touchdowns are going to regress a little bit, Conklin could be a guy that picks him up more so in the red zone.
Which I don't think they're going to regress because their schedule is almost perfect for Thielen to score on average 1 touchdown a week. Almost. Because we have the extra week. That would be 18 touchdowns. That would be pretty crazy. I think Devontae Adams did that last year. But I could see him getting 15 touchdowns. 12, 15 touchdowns.
I would agree with that. And, Ryan Kelly has him now. So
that's true.
I traded Adam Thielen to Ryan Kelly.
Thanks for making it.
Sorry, Hodge. But it was a deal I kind of, pass up. It helps Ryan Kelly's team now because he is, before all these injuries, he was in that I want to win the championship this year mode, I feel like. And it helps me for the future. So I get Josh Jacobs, he got Adam Thielen, and I got Darius Slayton, and then we swap first. But I think Adam Thielen is an all-star receiver as well. But overall, just to wrap up this matchup,
True.
I don't know. I think we talked about it, you and I and Derek and Smith.
Yeah.
This is probably the ceiling for Dan's team.
I think I would agree because his RB2 is going to put up his 3 points every game.
Yeah.
And if you take away a little bit from Conklin and you put it towards Juju, yeah. I mean, also, I think Hollywood Brown dropped 3 touchdown passes.
He did.
So, Dan should have had at least another 6 to 12 points right there.
If Dan had a decent RB2, his team wouldn't be...
His team would not be less like everyone's talking about.
Yeah.
And, I mean, based on this performance, if they can somewhat have, say, one less guy go off, he's still going to be putting up like 120, 125, which will be... It's more than enough to win in this league because we definitely had a lot of low-scoring teams, but then we also had a lot of really close points for matchups.
Agreed. And I think that this is probably close to the bottom for Leo's team as well. Just based on...
It just has to
his
be.
running... Yeah. I
would
say
any lower just means everyone's scoring like 2 points.
Yeah, it would be concerning. And I don't think Kyler Murray, 18 points, maybe he does that, a couple more times this year, but I think he'll be more around the 25-ish on a weekly basis.
And you would hope that if he's scoring 18, his other team would be not scoring 2, 7, 2, 1,
Exactly.
Yep. Okay, so that's done. I mean, we can go from the top on the website, so I don't know if you're looking, but Derek versus Pete, a matchup that I thought was going to be a very close one. However, it wound up being a blowout.
Yeah, obviously James White, I feel like hurts Pete a lot. I didn't think this was going to be close, frankly, if I'm being honest. I mean, we know Pete's philosophy. It's let me have high risk, high reward guys. He has that in Sterling Shepard. Cole Beasley played that role this week. Hopkins was pretty much a decoy, I feel like. But there are some of his core pieces that still produced, and Justin Jefferson, Darren Waller. I mean, 13 points isn't awful. But the more concerning part,
Is
and we touch on this weekly, I feel like at this point it's his running backs.
and I'm actually shocked as to why you start James White over Jamal Williams.
I think, yeah. Pete, if you're listening, let us know.
Like,
But that's a great question because Jamal Williams is pretty much a timeshare. Obviously,
Yeah.
Swift has been unreal, but it's pretty much 50-50, 60-40 split. He's getting out there way more, but I think this was James White had a great week the week prior. Let me plug him in there.
Because he saw 12 points week 1, 18 points. He's like, okay, maybe he's going to consistent. But, I mean, looking at the matchup, New Orleans has a good defense. Like, it's just interesting. He got one target, didn't even catch it.
Yeah, and now he probably loses them for the rest of the year.
Yeah. And now he will be starting Jamal Williams. So I guess that's a good thing. Unless Henderson comes back. Which
McVay is optimistic, but
agreed.
Yeah, in the defense, the Washington football team absolutely slaughtered him this week, -8 points.
Hurt him a lot.
Was better off pulling a Derek and not playing.
Exactly. For Derek's team, I mean, big performances by a few key players, which, I mean, you expect big performances from Travis Kelce and Devontae Adams almost every week. But a little weak performances from Kyle Pitts once again. I mean, I think some people just got overly excited with him, and the Falcons are not a good team. So getting 6 points in a game where you should be the number 2 target against a Giants team, that was a shit game, but I would be slightly concerned about Kyle Pitts and starting him every week because, the upside's there, but if you got someone better on your bench, you should be putting him in and accepting the fact that Kyle Pitts may need another year or two to develop. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Where did he have him? Okay, so he has Kelce, so obviously I would move Kelce to the tight end.
Of course.
Pitts, and I heard something, I think it was this morning or yesterday, that the Giants' game plan was to take Pitts out of the contention of, beating them, which is a bit concerning, I would say, for Atlanta's sake going forward, because if the Giants can do it, anybody can probably do it. Like, you got New Orleans, Tampa Bay, the schedule definitely doesn't get any
Washington
easier.
this week. And
yeah,
that's already a tough matchup.
I would say he's got the Jets and the Jaguars. Other than that, in Detroit. Other than that, I think it's going to be a real struggle for him. But I know Derek, he loves Kyle Pitts, so he's going to play him no matter what.
So he might get picked, started every time.
And the thing too is his team's good enough to take that risk virtually every week, I feel like.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, it's almost not a guaranteed win every week, but he's guaranteed at least 130.
I would agree with that.
I would be comfortable getting 130 with this team every week, yeah.
For sure. And I think just before we move on, concern.
Yes, I know who you're talking.
Is Philly in their backfield. What is this? 2 rushing attempts by Miles Sanders.
Did you say 2?
2 rushing attempts.
In the whole, in the first quarter?
No, the whole
game.
I think their running backs had him, and then my boy Kenny Gainwell had 1. They had 3 rushing attempts, and Jalen Hurts had 9, which is very.
That's not even a lot. What is that? 13.
That's 14, and the game script obviously didn't pan out that way, but in the first quarter it was 7-7, 14-7. They were in it, and they didn't even try to establish the run. And you got Jalen Hurts, guys tripping over their feet. He throws pick sixes. I mean, Miles Sanders, he's good. He's a great back.
And he has a favorable
I just don't know why.
He has a good matchup against the Chiefs.
I would agree.
Chiefs' run defense is not the best.
But that's just my 2 cents, and you know how I feel about Kenny Gainwell. He's coming up the ladder, so we'll monitor the Philly backfield going forward.
One last thing, as you can see, you never bench Tucker. 66-yard field goal hits the record. Why would you bench him, Derek, in the first place? I don't know. But 66 yards. We watched an insane game. Thought Detroit was going to win, but they should have won with that missed call by the refs. Kind of play clock went to 0, but I'll let the Detroit fans complain about that. I think that was just the best way for Detroit to lose, because that's the most Detroit way. Moving on to the next one. Also, that matchup was what, point? What was that, 0.8, 0.6, whatever? Yeah, 0.8 or 0.18 away from a 50-piece. 0.19, whatever it is.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
Moving to the next matchup, myself versus Smith, who also is host here of the podcast. I was pretty confident that I was going to win. The only thing I wasn't confident about was making the points for median. But Jalen Hurts is a great fantasy quarterback, but not a great NFL quarterback. So I'll have to accept the fact that he did that for me, because garbage time allowed me to get 2 wins.
326 yards. Wow.
Yeah. Other than that, all I know is my wide receivers suck. Besides DK Metcalf. But he also is pretty bad these past couple of weeks.
Well, yeah, this was definitely
but I was expecting it.
A prove it game.
Yeah.
For DK. And Allen Robinson, yeah, like we were talking about, it might be time to panic a little bit, but I feel like you still got to plug him in there at this point. And Julio Jones, with AJ Brown being out, probably at least 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Definitely going to see his target share go up, so you could probably expect double-digit points from him going forward.
And Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
He has, fun fact, he has more receptions than Kamara this year so far. And Derrick Henry is not a PPR running back, they say. Yeah. Just saying.
Well, he's never been.
Also, I mean, we'll talk about this tomorrow, but me thinking about starting 3 Tennessee Titans against the Jets is alarming me. But to go over this matchup, I think Smith's team just completely underperformed, but also almost slightly performed to what they are capable of, besides Mixon. And Hawkinson, I guess. But I feel like everyone else almost was up to par or a little above par. Would you agree? Or kind of disagree with that? Because I feel like that's...
I would agree with that. The biggest thing, and I wish Smith was here to talk about it, to defend himself. The biggest thing, he was out there flaunting Matheson to, what was it, Andy, and he's all, oh, you got to come and get him. He's going to do this, do that. And then Smith he played Trey Sermon over him. And not that it would have made a difference necessarily in your matchup.
No.
But
for points,
I mean, you got to walk the walk, I feel like.
Yeah. You can't hype up a man just to try to trade him and then bench him and let him do 23 points on your bench.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, I guess just on his team, he traded for Randall Moore this week.
That he did.
Poor guy. I mean, he was very efficient in week 2 with the snap share that he had of 46%. And then this week, he just absolutely lays an egg. He had 2 receptions for a half yard per catch, and I guess they counted a fumble on that muff punt, which is strange. But against Jacksonville, who's not good, and now he has the Rams, San Francisco, and Cleveland the next 3 weeks. So I would think that he's moving into Smith's taxier bench for the time being, and someone else is going to replace him. And that, but overall, I think Smith's team's right where he wants it for the future, the young boys.
And I mean, I hope it works out for the future for him. Not really, because I'm going to be in the league with him, but I also do maybe hope that it works out a little bit. But right now, like, he's pushing close to last place.
Him and Donna might be hanging
There's
out.
A lot of 2 and 4s. He's one of the 2 and 4s, but he doesn't really have a ton of points. because the team in last place has more points for than Smith right now.
Yeah, it could be a concern going forward.
It definitely could.
But he has so many guys that he can play in the flex that it's tough to pick each week. But we'll see how he manages going forward. And like we said, he has a young team and can build it for the future. So as long as he doesn't come in last place, I think he'll be happy this year.
Yeah, he definitely should be happy. He should be jumping up and celebrating if he doesn't come in last place, because I don't see him making the playoffs, especially with how competitive this league has gotten this year.
I agree.
All right. Moving on. So another matchup that I thought was going to be closer than it really was Ryan versus Chris. But I guess I really overthought it. And some of his players underperformed. Kareem Hunt just took the show away from Nick Chubb. So that really hurt Chris. And Christian McCaffrey getting hurt. Ryan got lucky with the win. And I kind of snaked away that second win from him in the points for with that last-minute touchdown from Jalen Hurts. But, I mean, if CMC performs and stays healthy, he's got an unreal team. He really does. But obviously CMC is out for, 6 to 8 weeks? Or is it less?
I think they're thinking less. They're not putting him on the IR, so I think that they're hoping
it's like 3.
Sooner than that, but I think that with the trade we made, he can play Melvin Gordon for the time being in there. And then also, obviously, as Adam Thielen now, the problem is, like, if Myles Gaskin or Melvin Gordon ends up losing their job, who does he play then? I feel like if CMC is not back, but I still think that when CMC comes back, like, his team is just unreal.
Scary.
It might not be fair. Like, it'll probably just end up being, if your team performs to what they can, it'll probably just end up being you too.
I mean, Andy's team is kind of in there, but I guess we'll get to Andy's team soon. What I'm curious about is Tyreek Hill. I feel like not a lot of people are talking about him. He's getting targets. Obviously, he got 15 targets in week 1. Then he drops to 4 against Baltimore, and now he got 7. But he's not putting up, 11 yards per catch, awesome. But in a game that close, that was ended in really like a nail biter, I feel like he wasn't really targeted. He wasn't looked to. Is he getting like stopped? Are they just triple teaming him and be like, you can't throw to Tyreek Hill, give it to Travis Kelce because you have no one else?
Yeah, I don't
know if it's overthinking it, but I don't know.
Yeah, cause for concern.
Back to back under double digits points, 8 and 5.
It's not like him, but I still think, they'll get it together. He's got that big game potential. Obviously, it looked like it's centered around Kelce last week. And then they probably heard the fantasy community talking crap about Clyde Edwards-Helaire and got him involved more.
But he had 2 fumbles. Or they had 1 fumble, but I don't know why I keep saying 2. I could have sworn I watched him fumble twice.
He had 1 fumble, 1 lost, it looks like. But, I mean, not a cause for concern. Him, Mahomes, and Hill, you're going to get probably, who are they playing this week?
They got Philly. They're going to
Philly. They're probably going to have 60 combined points this week.
The Chiefs are going to score 45 points on Eagles this week.
Yeah.
They need to. I think they literally need to keep their starters out there until the game is over, because they're in last place. It only is week 3, but they are in last place. It's the most surprising division right now, and it's going to be. It's a
competitive division.
Yeah.
And the Raiders look phenomenal right now too.
They really do look great.
But let's just touch on Chris's team. I think unfortunately this is, unless Nick Chubb scores a touchdown every week, I don't see him in a full PPR league getting the 20 points a game
that is projected almost every week.
Yeah, I mean, 2 touchdowns week 1, and he only had 21 points. 1 touchdown week 2, and he had 17 points. So take the touchdown away in week 2, he's at 10 points. I think, and he's averaging in week 2 8.6 yards a carry.
And his
I love
ADP
Nick
was
Chubb.
like what, 8? Right? They were trying to, like, when we were not us drafting him, but when, in redraft leagues, if people drafting this year, they had him as like an RB 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And
so I mean, he's a phenomenal player, and if you're in a standard league, he's probably a top 3-4 back. But in a full PPR with Kareem Hunt, I mean, Nick Chubb's not really catching the ball out of the backfield.
Nope.
Unless he scores a touchdown, you're going to be pushing to get to that 10 to 11 point mark every week. I feel like so you're hoping that he scores a touchdown every week to get you to 16 points.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, Chris's team, I think he's been complaining about the points for, but I think, probably around 120 is a fair expectation for his team each week. Mm-hmm. I think Diggs has underperformed. It's a bit concerning, honestly, with Josh Allen spreading the ball out between everybody now. And then, I mean, he doesn't really have a good tight end option. So,
no.
Unless he gets that, maybe Evan Ingram performs this week. He throws him in there. With everybody hurt, Evan Ingram's probably going to have at least 8 targets. You just have to hope he catches the ball.
And doesn't fumble.
Yeah. So I would say I thought this was going to be closer, but and even Ryan Kelly's team underperformed too. So think about if Ryan Kelly's team performed. Like we would be talking about another 50 piece here.
It definitely would be talking about another 50 piece here. And I also think, final note on Chris's team, I think he needs to put a little more thought into his flex plays, because I don't know if Damian Harris was the right play against New Orleans there. Maybe there could have been something else. Would I have played someone else over him? Possibly. But now
I probably would have played Sony Michel over him.
Sony Michel, if I was playing a running back, yeah. Because you also have the wide receivers. You have to think that you have Henry Ruggs and you have Waddle. So you got Jalen Waddle. You got options there to start someone with upside in your flex.
And Damian Harris, it appears, is no longer the starting running back in New England. So I don't know if you can trust any New England running back, but he said that, and then he traded for Damian Harris.
Yeah,
so we'll see what he does this week.
Exactly. Now moving on to your matchup against Parker. Now this was one that we this is one that we thought was going to be a toilet bowl. It was going to be a dumpster fire, but it actually wound up being one of the more exciting matchups outside of Hodge and Andy, which we'll get to, because it was one of the closest matchups, and it was something to actually be excited for. And just looking at it right now, you could have easily put up 160 points this week, if not more. However, you got hurt in two spots, which took down your team's total. But you really could have been the top point scorer this week if you had a healthy A.J. Brown throughout the game and a healthy Darius Slayton, which is a really good, really great performance. Javonte Williams with the touchdown, I was kind of expecting that. I thought he was going to have a solid game, and he's getting more involved, and I think they're seeing what he can do, which I'm excited for. You got hurt in 2 spots, but you were able to pull it off with your team, and it's awesome. I mean, you went against a guy that had 19 targets as a running back.
Unreal performance by Najee, almost 30 points. But yeah, this is what excites me about my team, because Saquon, sure, he wasn't a great runner, and he's not going to be a phenomenal runner with this offensive line in New York, but he has that reception ability there.
Yes.
He played, 86% of snaps, so I guess he's kind of off that pitch count going forward. And then Josh Allen, I mean, this is the Josh Allen that we saw
Unbelievable
last
performance.
year. And I don't expect him to put up 45 points a week, but I mean, even the first week he kind of had a bad week and he still put up 17. So 25, I feel like, is a solid number for him on
Yes.
the year. DJ Moore, once again, overperforms, and I feel like he still has the potential to get at least 12 targets a game with Dan Arnold now being out of there
Yes.
as well. But the concerning part for my team over the next couple of weeks is, one, is Josh Jacobs going to come back? Because if not, I'm going to have to potentially make a move to plug a flex option, because if AJ Brown and Darius Slayton are out, I don't really have anybody on my
Else.
bench to plug. Maybe Campbell, but I mean he
I mean,
hasn't done anything.
Peyton Barber.
Well, yes, potentially. But I picked him up primarily because if Josh Jacobs doesn't go, that's who John Gruden, for some reason, trusts, a guy who was cut by the Washington football team over a guy they're paying, what is it, $10 million
Yeah.
this year? So that's just something to monitor. I wouldn't mind playing playoff Lenny, but he didn't have a phenomenal week last week.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But this is what excites me about my team, because this is the true potential that I have, and I'm even surprised. They have surprised myself, honestly, too. I thought I would not be sitting with already 2.4 medium wins on the season.
Your team's doing what they need to do for you to continue to move forward, and I'm excited for him. I mean, hey, Mark Andrews finally did something for you, and it actually helped you pull out a win. Because if he put
Yeah.
0, that would be crazy. Also, last week when we were reviewing this, we did say that it would come down to the tight end matchup because both of them needed to have a great game. And look at that. They both had a great game.
Yeah.
Also, what's kind of concerning about Parker's team a little bit moving forward is his team right now can actually be good if he had a quarterback. But
Yeah,
he doesn't.
it's
And that was his strategy when we interviewed him. He said, I don't care about my quarterback. I'll do a flyer. I'll throw in whoever has a better matchup. And at this point, like if he had a quarterback putting up 20 points, what would that have been? I mean, that would have been 9 more. He still would have lost, but he would have the opportunity because you have Jonathan Taylor who could have a good game here and there. I'm hoping he steps it up. But you have Najee Harris who's on the field 95% of the snaps. You have Jamar Chase, who I thought was going to be not as good, putting up, catching a touchdown all the time, like 2 touchdowns last week.
Kittle.
And you have Kittle, and now he performed, so now you get to see what he can do. But
and I think a guy that Parker needs to start playing is Cordell Patterson. I mean, he has been
in a flex play, yeah,
a flex play. I mean, he's been targeted 14 times in the past 2 weeks. He put up 16 points again last week. He doesn't need a huge snap share to still be fantasy relevant. But just going back to your point, it's concerning at the quarter. Teddy Two Gloves has been
pretty decent.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's Carson Wentz who's god awful, and you can't stream a quarterback in Dynasty because literally every quarterback is
taken.
Gobbled up.
I don't even know who's available at quarterback.
Yeah, not many, because I've been looking, because I'm scared Jimmy G is going to be the backup.
Big Ben.
Yeah, and Big Ben was just dropped.
Jacoby Brissett, and that's it. Those are the only 2 that you're going to get that would put up points.
Yeah, so it's concerning. Parker is now sitting in last place at 1-5. But like you said, his team has the potential. I mean, if Jonathan Taylor, he has the most red zone carries, and he doesn't have a touchdown yet. If he starts performing, his team could be better, obviously, but the Colts are just awful. I mean, they are. Yeah. I was laughing again this week at their attempt to score points. It's awful.
And Tennessee let them happen, though. Like, Tennessee kept that game close, and I don't really like that.
It was baffling to me, but Oh yeah, it doesn't look like it gets much easier for them
moving
either.
forward.
Week 6 they play Houston.
Week
Um,
10 they play Jacksonville. Week 9 they
but yeah,
play
you got to
Jets
think Jonathan Taylor gets in the end zone
tomorrow.
sooner rather than later. But
Next,
we're already sitting here going into week 4 with no touchdown. And Naeem Hines, I think, has more fantasy points than him.
wow. There you have it.
With
Jonathan Taylor
that,
needs to do
I'm
shit.
happy. 2-0 on this week. 0-2 for Parker.
Yes.
Um, and I hope my team keeps building on it. But tough matchup this week, which we'll get into tomorrow
Yep.
with Ryan Kelly. But if any week I was gonna beat him, this would be the one.
This would be the one. On to the last matchup, the grand finale. Kind of happy it worked out this way because this was the matchup that we said last week that we were looking out for.
Yep.
Haj versus Andy. Andy is the top scoring team in the league. He is in first place. He was undefeated until this week came. He had a lot of high performers like usual in Cooper Kupp, Dak Prescott,
Mike
and
Williams.
Mike Williams. Yeah, there it is. And then a shit show after that. Literally an absolute dumpster fire outside of those three names. Because I consider Antonio Gibson, I mean, I guess he projected himself, but I still think 17. All right, he's not dumpster fire, but everyone else is dumpster fire.
Tyler Higbee pretty good too. But
That was, I think, lucky.
yeah, I mean, this is what, like you said, this is what we were looking forward to. Hodge with a miracle again this week. Last week it was Aaron Jones.
Yes.
This week it was Zeke. I think he was down to like 10 or 13% on Sleeper, which Sleeper, please work on your projections because in the win percentage, because we have had, it's been unreal this year how many teams have come back when they were at like 10 or less percent. But last week, Aaron Big Bones Jones, and then this week, my boy Zeke Elliott.
I mean, I also think it comes down to Stafford as well, because maybe a lot of people weren't thinking about it, but I really, if I actually wrote down my picks, I had the Rams beating the Buccaneers. I really think they're like,
the Rams are good.
The Rams are great, and it really comes down to how you just scheme with these quarterbacks. Like, people are stopping Patrick Mahomes. People are going to stop Tom Brady. It's possible. Like, you just have to play it correctly and just be able to put up points with them. And once you can compete on the offense and defensive side, you're going to beat them because they just shut down.
Yeah. Matt Stafford looks like a new man, and Cooper Kupp does too. Concerning for Robert Woods a little bit. I think Hodge was hoping for that Stafford Woods stack this year, but I mean, yeah, 37 points against the Bucks is unreal by Stafford, and Robert Woods 7 points. So Hodge's wide receivers underperformed, I feel like, with Woods and Lockett.
Lockett did get hurt a little bit, right? And then did he come back in?
Yeah, he came back
in. Okay.
Yeah. 4 for 4, 31 yards. A little surprising, honestly, because, you know, Lockett has been that deep guy this year, but DK took that over. And then I wonder what's going to happen, right, with Deebo Samuel now that the punt returner, Brandon Ayuk, is back catching balls. So we'll see if this production, you know, kind of stays around there for Deebo going forward instead of that 20 to 30 point ceiling that he was at in week 1 and 2.
And I know we don't really talk about kickers and defense because they're just there for luck, but he definitely got lucky with his defense this week and scoring 20 points with them.
Yeah.
And it really didn't look like that in that first week, the first quarter and the first half of that Cardinals Jacksonville, because the Jags
they were up 14-7.
They were leading. They took back a 68 field goal attempt missed 68 field goal, whatever.
Yeah, I think we get what you're saying. The other thing too is Andy went with Tony Pollard this week.
Oh, you had to, right? Would you say you had to?
No. Yeah, with how, you know, he's been performing, I feel like.
Well, he had to because Dalvin Cook's out. So if Dalvin Cook's in there, Andy's putting up 170 points.
Oh yeah. For sure.
because Madison got 23. So if you really kind of equal that out there, say Dalvin Cook gets 20, he's putting up 174 points, and he's doing that again because he did that last week.
His team's scary.
His team is ridiculous, but one injury makes him lose.
Yeah, that's the name of the game, though. If you have like one of those top tier backs or wide receivers, I feel like they could be hurt. But Zeke proving that he is
still big,
still fantasy relevant after all the hooting and hollering about Tony Pollard. Zeke just went off. He should have had 3 touchdowns actually, instead of these 2, because one got called back. He was like 6 inches short.
True.
And then Dak couldn't get it in. It looked like, but a great matchup. I think that these Hodge and Andy, along with yourself, Derek, and Ryan, are definitely the top tier team. So it'll be fun to watch as the season progresses and you guys start playing each other more. How things pan out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to come down to a lot of different things. Probably kickers and defense, to be honest. It's really going to come down to those.
And then no one's going to want to eliminate them.
No, but if they don't want to eliminate them, I read what Parker sent. No one really responded to it. I think no one wanted to really talk about it. But he did send like a Reddit post. I took a screenshot of the rules. And they said, if you're not going to remove kickers and defense, you might as well embrace them. And embrace them with insane scoring.
Yeah.
Like sack yards and, return yard, like stupid shit like that. Just to make them actually worth having on your team and playing each week.
Yeah.
And do like tiered. I did read something which was cool. Side note. Tiered kicking points in where you kind of measure it based on the yardage. So for example, a 18-yard field goal would be 1.8 points.
Interesting. Well, Justin Tucker would have got a lot of points last week.
So he would have got 6.6 points for that, yeah.
Interesting. Might be something to explore.
Exactly.
League, if you're listening.
Doing Make something, sure next year, obviously, to discuss it. So that was every matchup. I mean,
let's just go through the standings quick. Give people a quick update. What do you think? I don't know if you have that pulled up.
So I could pull it up, but he did. I didn't. It's not implemented yet on. Oh, whatever. If people see what I have, it's not implemented on the website yet, which I'm trying to get. However, the standings are right now as follows. We got Andy 5-1 with 487 points. We have Hodge 5-1 at 482 points. So obviously there the points for it puts Andy at top.
Only $12 left on the
only $12 left. That's very true. And then you have I didn't even realize this. Then you have Derek at number 3, 4-2 with 441 points. Then you have myself 4-2, 419. Then you have Badger 4-2 at 405. And then you have Ryan 3-3, the only 3-3 team with 466 points for. And that would be in the playoffs right now. That would be the playoff teams, would be those top 6. Outside of that, you then go down to Pete at 2-4, Smith at 2-4, Chris at 2-4, Leo at 2-4, and Dan at 2-4.
Out of there. At 2-4.
And then you go down to Parker at 1-5, who was our last place winner, I guess, last place loser last year. And to see him at the bottom is actually slightly surprising because I didn't expect him to be at the bottom this early. But
he's got screwed. Michael Thomas again, I feel like this year. And then who even was his quarterback last year? Was it Stafford? And I think he traded him?
It was Matthew Stafford, and he also had Big Ben, who I think was hurt. So it was Matthew Stafford.
That's tough.
And he did trade him. I don't know for what.
I think it was part of maybe that CEH deal.
Oh, it was right here. It was Matthew Stafford and Benny Snell for Trey Traquan Smith in a second? Oh, sorry. Parker traded Matthew Stafford in a second to get Zach Wilson, which, oh my God, is he bad. But then Zach, yeah. And then Zach Wilson got moved around. But then Matthew Stafford got traded from Pete for Traquan Smith in a second, which, Haj,
good for you.
Good for you, because I think he won that one. Yeah. Those standings.
So that's where we are after week 3.
Those standings after 3 weeks. For those that are confused as to why we have 6 total wins, we do points for median. So top 6 teams get a win, bottom 6 teams get a loss in the points for that week. And then moving on to kind of what we went over last week on Wednesday, just like who's surprised, who did like a breakout this year, who's a team to look out for, who's kind of, scaring us. I mean, Leo putting up 87 points and Pete putting up 95 is kind of a little scary.
Yeah, I would say more scary for Pete, just based on like
his strategy his team to win
and his strategy. Like
he's a win.
87 points. Yeah. But then he can go. We saw week 1 he put up 195.
Yes.
But I think Leo kind of knew his team, it was still going to be a work in progress this year. He doesn't really have a true running back backfield, but we'll see if Michael Pittman can keep this up. Maybe it can keep Leo's team afloat in that playoff conversation potentially more towards the end of the season.
Yeah. Okay. Point. So the player projections. I mean, for me, I had DK Metcalf. I knew he was going to have a great game just based on how he did previously, and then obviously had a great game again. Badger that got hurt. What was it? Did he miss it by like 0.4? Did he? What did he miss it like 0.4?
He had 9 something.
Yeah. So at 1 point, and you would have been.
And I mean, I thought he was getting there easily.
Me too.
Zach Ertz ends up getting the touchdown. I thought Zach Ertz maybe wasn't going to play, so that would have helped Dallas Goedert in the end. I mean, but he still produced. I think he had 2 catches, over 60 yards on 4 targets. So he was him and Ertz were honestly the only production outside of Jalen Hurts for the Eagles last night. So still feeling good going forward with that dual tight end set. And I think Goddard, as the season progresses, ends up being that number 1 tight end option.
I mean, hey, you hit an over bet with 1 catch, and that was one of the first plays of that drive, and that was kind of...
I had a great feeling. Like 35 and a half.
I feel like that's very low. Like
it was very low.
I would have put a few $100 on that.
Especially with the Eagles, the Dallas defense. So yeah, 1 catch, and we were there. I mean, I think it was Jalen Hurts' first throw, so within the first 10 minutes, we were cashing tickets.
Yeah, that was... And I was ready for... After that, I was ready. I was like, he's about to cook. Like, Goddard's going to cook. And it wound up being Zach Ertz, unfortunately. I mean... It's tough. I guess moving on. Do you have anything else you want to discuss? I mean, what else do you want to do?
No, I think let's just touch on a couple guys who overperformed on the week, and we kind of touched on it in the beginning segment, but a couple tight ends that
agreed
were surprising. I would say we touched on Conklin. But Dalton Schultz, tight end 1 this week in Dallas, he has been pretty relevant as well. I think he's been Dallas's number 1 tight end option. He will probably start to fizzle off a little bit when Amari Cooper, comes back fully healthy, I feel like. But it's still surprising and great upside in Dallas for Dalton Schultz. I'm not sure who has him. I know Leo just actually traded Robbie Anderson for Blake Jarwin, but it seems like Schultz is going to be that Tight end, go-to guy.
Dan actually has him.
And yeah, who does?
Dan.
Dan.
So
So good for Dan.
both of his tight ends actually then.
Yeah, both his tight ends. Pretty good.
Pretty
It
impressive.
looks like going forward. And then the last guy is Mike Gesicki, contract year
Yep.
for this guy. He looked awful in week 1. I know a lot of people dropped him, but last week 12 targets.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw Jacoby Brissett, right? Like, the tight ends in Indy were relevant when he was there too. So if Jacoby Brissett is going to be the quarterback, he's definitely going to be the quarterback
Gesicki
next week,
might
and then
be.
they'll reevaluate to it. I think Mike Gesicki is a good play going forward here,
Yeah.
as well. 12 targets. Even the week before, he was still pretty relevant with Jacoby Brissett. So I think Leo has him.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe make a look at inserting Mike Gesicki here next week as well.
Yeah, because I think Tua is out 3 weeks, so he's got another 2, and he's playing Indy. Which is it a revenge game? Comeback game? Brissett against Indy going back. That could be a good game actually to watch now, especially when Carson Wentz can't really do anything. With his 2 flimsy ankles.
And then just some duds
Yeah.
from the week 2. We touched on the quarterbacks and running backs already. Wide receiver, Robbie Anderson. I feel like we're saying this every week now.
Now, do you think we're going to be saying that moving forward now that... Wait, no. I thought someone got hurt, right?
Dan Arnold traded to
I
Jacksonville.
guess him.
I feel bad for him because he was starting to become relevant in Carolina.
Yeah.
This is what I think is going to happen. I think Robbie Anderson is going to have 1 or 2 good weeks within the next 4 or 5. People are going to be like, "Oh, Robbie Anderson again, he's back."
And then
But I think we agree on how this story is going to end,
it's a
and
trap.
it would be a desperation mode at this point, throwing him in your lineup. I feel like you're just hoping. Well, Pete has him now, so Pete's strategy is high risk, high reward. So I feel like Robbie Anderson would be a great play for Pete because he has that 40-yard touchdown potential. He can get you 60 yards and a touchdown with a couple catches. So we'll see, but it's a repeating story, I feel like. And then the tight ends, we touched on Pitts. Hawkinson, bad week for him. I wouldn't expect it going forward. Noah Fant, bad week. I think he only had 4 points. But with no KJ Hamler, I think that he is going to be
once again.
option.
I mean, because it should have been like that with Jerry Jeudy, and now no Hamler. Like,
yeah, he's definitely option 1B. I feel like with Cortland Sutton going forward.
And yeah, he only got 3 targets. It was a little rough. I thought he would do a lot more against.
Positive game script though was the Jets.
It was the Jets, and they were running the ball a lot and just controlling that. So definitely ready to see another thing. And then obviously I think we talked about it, but another emphasis on Allen Robinson. Yikes.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, he was an auto. I drafted him in 3 or 4 redraft leagues, and he was an auto play for me up until last week. But now, I just don't know. Matt Nagy,
benching him against the Lions is.
Yeah, if he doesn't get it done against the Lions, then it's really time to press the panic mode. I feel like, but Matt Nagy, they just gotta can this guy. I mean, he's now saying, all quarterbacks are in consideration.
I'm trying to think if playing, as much as I hype and love Justin Fields, was it the right move to not make giving Foles a chance, like in practice?
Do they even dress Nick Foles?
I don't know, but I mean, like, he's a Super Bowl quarterback. He won the Super Bowl.
I mean, I don't know. I guess he's on the tail. I guess Justin Fields kind of hurt his hand too, but X-rays came back negative. But I mean, you're right. They are paying this guy a lot of money, so we'll see what happens this week. But
I feel like that line just collapsed, right? Because Dalton was getting the ball out. Like, Dalton was able to get the ball out, and then Justin Fields gets in there, and they just die.
Yeah, it's not a good situation. And Chicago, I think fresh start for everybody would be great.
Exactly.
but you know, you just got to deal with it this year. Luckily, we're a dynasty and not a redraft, so I'm sure
That's facts.
one, Allen Robinson's probably out after this year unless something drastic
Just
happens.
goes crazy.
And two, yeah, I guess it's gonna be. I mean, who's him? And yeah, I don't know. It's tough, but like you said, you got to play him this week. He had 6 targets last week.
Yep.
So you got to expect that'll
Exactly.
stay up there. But
so quick waiver claims before we kind of wrap this up. I think Chuba Hubbard. I mean, we saw what was that last week that everyone put like 100% of their fab into. I can't remember his name.
Elijah Mitchell 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, Elijah Mitchell gets like 90% of your fab. And everyone's going to do the same thing with Chuba. So I guess don't do it because just expect it to happen and you're just will spend your money for no reason. Because
unless you have
someone's going to outbid you.
Christian McCaffrey, I don't think you should be allocating a gazillion dollars to him. I heard something today where backup running backs only they average 10 points when they start, and on average backup running backs only start 40% of the time for one game, and it's like less than 30 for 2 games. So
it's not really
no need to sell the farm, I feel like, unless you're like desperate, really desperate in the backfield.
I think another person who is low-key, and Sleeper has him at 12% rostered. It is a tight end. Could you guess?
Tight end.
He's a tight end 6 right now. But only 12% have him rostered, according to Sleeper.
Tight end 6. I don't know.
Deshaun Knox. With the Bills. Could be. He's gotten double digits throughout all 3 weeks. He's getting 4 targets. 4 or 5 targets. He's touchdown dependent, just like Jimmy Graham. But he could be a good backup tight end to keep on your bench to use as a trade piece to someone.
I had a
good
player prop on him as well, over 21.5 reception yards, receiving yards. But
another dub, cash it.
I don't know if. I mean, he's a good stash, right? If you need a backup tight end, but as soon as Josh Allen decides he's going back to Stephon Diggs,
it's going to be Stephon Diggs.
It's going to be all of those targets are probably gonna, or a majority of them are probably gonna go back to him.
Yeah.
But he's a good tight end 6. Wow, good stash for now.
I think so.
And maybe if you have Robert Tonyan, you play him over him because Robert Tonyan has been booty this year.
Yes. So it could be someone that you just low-key go after that no one goes after because everyone's going to go off, get Dalton Schultz after that big game. So go grab Knox. I mean, another person everyone's going to go after, which I don't think you should, is going to be Emmanuel Sanders because a lot of people always go after people that have big games. It's just the way it works with waivers. I don't think he's someone that you go after.
See, this is where I think we might disagree.
All right.
I think if you don't have to play him, you go after. I mean, he's had at least 6 targets every week. But like we said, as soon as Josh Allen flips the script, back to Stephon Diggs, which I would assume at some point soon. But someone like a Hunter Renfrow or a Henry Ruggs, I would probably take over Emmanuel Sanders right now.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
But he's got Houston this week, so.
That's true. Question now, because Sleeper has Tyler Conklin at 8% rostered. Does that count? Does that count as like a waiver ad for this week? I guess he could be counted as a waiver ad every week if he's still if he's still available. In I guess at 10 or 12 10 or 12 size roster, you grab him. But if you're in like or 10 to 12 league size, because if you're in an 8-team league, you don't need him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he's probably going to be gone. 8%, I don't know. How right are these? I mean,
I really don't know how accurate it is, but that's what they say.
Yeah, you got to take a flyer. I would take a flyer on him over Knox any day of the week just because there's a lot more targets in Buffalo with Beasley, Sanders, Diggs, and then they throw it to Singletary out of the backfield. Whereas in Minnesota, it's more so, they utilized the running back Madison a lot last week, but it's more so Conklin, Thielen, Jefferson, and I forget that other wide receiver's name who went off the first 2 weeks, but he didn't really do much last week.
It's like the O, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But worth a flyer. Conklin's definitely worth a flyer. The running backs are probably getting very thin, I would say, and the wide receivers, like Vin said.
I do have one other guy, Tim Patrick. He is 37% rostered. People probably already have him in your league, but if he's there, go after him right now. I think he would be top of my list.
At least 12.7 points every.
And you got injuries on that team. Teddy Bridgewater wants to throw the ball. They're going to have to throw the ball in these next coming weeks.
Yeah, at least 4 targets, 70% snap share. Touchdown the first 2 weeks.
I like him.
I 100% agree with that. Probably option 3 in Denver going forward here. So definitely a good pickup.
Now, question: do you go after? This will be my last one because I'll stop. I just talk and talk and talk. Tennessee Titans. If AJ Brown's hammy is injured more seriously
he's not going to play this week. He's not gonna.
But like if it's more serious than we think or what they're telling us or what we don't know yet. I hope it's not, obviously. Is there anyone on that team besides Julio Jones and Derrick Henry that you would be going after, or are you just accepting the fact that everyone else is kind of like you're either going to hit or you're going to miss and they don't know who you're going to throw to, and it is what it is, right? Because we had Nick Westbrook. He got a touchdown. If you take away that touchdown, he really did nothing. But because he caught a touchdown, it hyped him up. You have Chester Rogers, who really doesn't do anything. And their number 1 tight end is hurt, who I spent $75
on. That's a great question. I think the Titans are going to be hurting here.
This is going to be a Derrick Henry and Julio Jones show. And if Julio Jones gets covered, I think Derrick Henry might see 6 to 8 targets receiving now.
He very well could.
Because he can catch now. He proves himself. He proved that he can catch.
The good news for the Titans is they go New York, Jacksonville. So they should, even without AJ Brown, they should be fine.
Yeah.
You got to think Josh Reynolds is not going to be a healthy scratch anymore. So maybe, I wouldn't go out picking him up, but no one is really worth
on that, right?
Anything outside of Julio Jones or Derrick Henry in that wide receiver. Yep, I don't know. No. Maybe I just don't know the Titans enough, but no one.
I really don't think anyone really excites me on that team.
It hurts. Yeah. That's a tough one. Maybe they throw Jeremy Nichols out there in the slot a couple times.
Just throw him in there.
I think they're just going to pound the ball with Derrick Henry. The under may be a great look on that game.
I really think Derrick Henry is going to see another 30 touches against like 22 touches against the Jets, and probably another like 25 against the Jaguars, and then I'm going to have to bench him on my team against Buffalo because that would be his rest game.
Yeah, I think that they're going to have to throw the ball against Buffalo a bunch. So
that would be
I think they're going to, unfortunately, take A.J. Brown and probably not play him these next 2 weeks because they think
No.
they're going to be able to win without him, which is 100% correct in my opinion. And then
Yeah.
that's awful for my fantasy team. But um,
It definitely is.
yeah, I don't think we're seeing AJ Brown until Buffalo.
No. I agree. Or we shouldn't. We really shouldn't see him until Buffalo if he's healthy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Any more? You want anything to close up on? Because
I think that's it.
we really did touch up on a lot.
Yeah, we covered a lot here. Just two of us think we did pretty well. But tomorrow we will be back with all four of us based on current situations. So we will be breaking down week 4. Wow, it's already week 4. I feel like we say that every week, but
we're gonna be saying that because we are approaching bye weeks, and that is going to be scary.
Yeah,
a lot of teams.
And there's one marquee matchup this week, and I think you know who's involved that we will touch on tomorrow. But I think that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in, as always, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you. And then once again, obviously, Twitter. We have social media. We got this website. You can check it out, PnCDynasty.com. You can literally see who we are, our teams, what we've done, who we're adding, who we're starting, literally everything to help you, I guess, determine what you need to do as well, who to look out for, what trades, And we also have Twitter where you can hit us up, ask us questions. We're willing to answer. I believe I have Discord also linked down below, and Twitch. Join the Discord. We can answer questions there live. A lot of platforms that we are ready to help you guys win your championships or just win your next week, your week matchups.
And a lot of different viewpoints too, right? You have Smith, who loves the analytics, yes. You, who isn't an analytic guy, me, who's kind of in the middle, and Derek, I don't think he uses analytics either really that much. He just
I am all emotions. I just go and I'm like, You know what? I feel like this is going to happen. And it hurts. Sometimes it really hurts because I told 2 people to not start Brandon Cooks. All right, well, do that one. Shh. Don't tell anyone.
That one's tough. No words.
Start
Brandon Cooks. Auto start. No one else to throw the ball to there. He's getting at least 10 targets a game.
Start Brandon Cooks every week. Even if he doesn't put up the points that he should, it doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. But because I said to bench him, it was the wrong decision. And we're going to end it there. Enjoy your night. And we will be on tomorrow, probably 6:30, going over week 4. So be sure to tune in.